Hey everyone, welcome back to the BizBlend podcast, the show where we keep it real about what is actually working in business right now. I'm your host, Sun, as always, and today we are diving into something that has a lot of marketers quietly freaking out. Now, organic search is getting flipped on its head, listeners. My take, like Google is basically uprooting what organic search even means, not out of curiosity, but out of pure survival. And AI search. Now, this is exploding. Your ideal buyers are asking tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, what to use. And in those answers, your brand either exists or it does not. Now, for founders and marketers, this is not a nerdy side topic. It hits your pipeline, your lead gen, your brand perception, your job security, if we are blunt. Now, to unpack this, listeners, I'm joined by the founder of KnowaToa, a company that started as a joke, literally. They were hanging out with other SaaS founders asking, I wonder what ChatGPT thinks of my company. Now, they checked, the results were kind of horrifying. Some brands didn't show up at all. Random competitors looked bigger than they are, and there were hallucinations everywhere. Now, from that little script that dumped ChatGPT answers into a CSV, they built a product. Now, search professionals use KnowaToa to track where they rank in Claude, Perplexity, Google Gemini, and ChatGPT. So, listeners, if I can summarize, we are going to talk about why AI search is already mainstream, how Google is reacting, what this means for SEO careers, and how founders can actually use this shift instead of getting streamrolled. So, if you are a marketer, a founder, or that person or the team that always gets thrown the own SEO task, this one's for you. And to help me with that, we have Michael Buckbee here. So, Michael, welcome to the show, and it's really an exciting conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me. This is awesome. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here and chat with you.
Absolutely. I mean, what an origin story, first of all. And yeah, this is something that deep down, even if I'm not from the marketing background, even something I have discovered that, more than Google now, people are definitely, personally, I am also hovering over to ChatGPT or any other AI platforms to search for stuff. So let's zoom out a little bit, Michael. You have this bird's eye view from Noatoa, watching how often people show up in AI search engines. So, from your perspective, what is actually happening to search right now? Like, is this an evolution of Google, or are we watching the early stages of Google losing its grip on how people find stuff online?
I think, we don't know yet, but yeah, I think a really interesting thing as a thought experiment is to almost pretend no one exists but Google. And that was sort of the state of SEO for a long time for search engine optimization, where people basically just said, well, Google's it. That's the only thing that matters in search. We're just going to optimize for them. And, I think a lot of the conversation now is framed incorrectly as like, hey, is ChatGPT going to completely kill Google search? But if we
Mm.
pretend ChatGPT doesn't exist, Google themselves have pushed AI overviews and now AI mode so hard that it is clear that that's their roadmap for the future.
Mm.
And that's why I think it's so important, even if you don't care or you don't think that these things are going to happen. Well, Google's already decided it's going to happen.
Hmm. Hmm. And let me challenge that a little bit here. So let's say, um, if I'm listening, let's say if a listener is listening to this on their commute, it would sound like, hype. So do we have any concrete proof that AI search is not just a toy? Like, are you actually seeing enough buyer intent shift out of Google into the AI plus search platforms? Like,
Absolutely. Well,
mhm.
again, right now, any search anyone does, like we still make this big distinction between traditional search into Google and going to ChatGPT and asking a question. Any search that goes into Google, almost gets an AI overview now, like the vast majority of them. Um, and what we're seeing is that um, a lot of this is not accurately reflected in your analytics. That it's very
Mm.
hard to go into Google Analytics or Plausible or Adobe Analytics or anything you want and see where this traffic is happening. Most of the time, what we see is that it's all dark traffic. And for the most part, um, w- the search journey is changing. So, in a previous time, something you and I and all the listeners are really good at was doing a search at a very high level and then looking at three or four different links, opening them in different tabs, and then slowly, drilling down to something. And over the course of that, trying to make a buying decision, doing research, we visit a dozen different sites. And now we're seeing a lot more of that happen immediately in Google's AI overviews where they auto summarize a lot of this information. We're definitely seeing that inside of, ChatGPT and the other systems.
Mm-hmm. Mm. And uh, what I understand is, like correct me if I'm wrong, like if it's not that Google dies tomorrow, it is that the funnel kind of is getting sliced, like maybe a chunk of research and shortlist, because that this is something personally I am also able to relate with. Like this behavior is moving into the AI tools, but then at the same time, someone even hits Google or let's say a brand website, the AI has already framed what top brands or reviews are there in their head.
Yeah.
Mm.
One of the really interesting things, and, you talked a little bit about our origin story where, started out, trying to work with a few other SaaS founders and I had a previous SaaS and the And I was making these spreadsheets, just CSV documents for them about like basic questions about what ChatGPT was saying about their company and competitors and how they stacked up. And everyone sort of thought that was a novelty. Like, oh, that's sort of interesting, but not very compelling. And it was only after like a month or so that I started hearing back from people. And the people I heard back from were all the ones that were doing post purchase surveys. So they had in their sign up flow, hey, after a customer signed up, hey, how'd you hear about us? And what they kept saying was, oh, we keep hearing Chat GPT. And they're like, hey, can I get an update on that spreadsheet? So, um, and that's one of those interesting things that's not well reflected in the analytics. Uh, and, a very normal path is that people are doing research in the AI tools. Like I was looking for a 3D printer for my kids for this Christmas. What's the best 3D printer? What's better about this version versus this version of, the Bamboo Labs printer. And all of that has a ton of citations, none of which I clicked inside of ChatGPT.
Okay.
And, um, you know, ultimately made a buying decision and went directly to their website. And I say directly, what I really did was I went to the Omni bar in Chrome and typed in Bamboo Labs and went right to their site from a navigational search. Um,
Mhm.
And so does that count as a a search? Kind of. We don't have great language for all these things. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And if I can also throw example, I was, searching for a headphones which is,
yeah.
specifically suited for a podcaster, maybe kind of a within budget headphone. So, like, as you mentioned, like, we would go and search in Google, give those keywords, and there will be so many links and it will take a lot of time. But then when I am aware that, okay, instead of wasting not wasting, but putting my time in there on Google and doing the research and everything, tab by tab, link by link, let's just ask ChatGPT the exact thing that I want, and then I got some options from there. Maybe took me to Amazon or some of the websites. I saw the reviews, and then it helped maybe 40 to 50% in kind of refining my buying decision.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's very common behavior. And,
Mm.
you know, an interesting thing in this is that, as marketers, I think it's very easy to think of these things as, a perfect substitute that like what people are putting into Google for search, they're now putting into ChatGPT or Claude or something else. And what the data really shows is that that's not the case, that about, you know, maybe a third of the questions that people put to ChatGPT are like what we just said, which is like, hey, what's the best 3D printer? What's the best headphones for this particular case? But the other third is that's search related is a lot more specific, which is that, hey, I'm going to look for something, but I'm looking for something very specific to me. That I'm not looking for a generic workout plan. I'm looking for a workout plan for me based upon my age and weight and where I'm at and my location, and that it's already a blend of both a search and a recommendation that's built into it. Um,
Mhm.
so it's it's interesting, and when you think about that and how that is evolving, what I think you get to is something we've been trying to say, which is that part of the responsibilities of marketers is changing, and there's a lot more responsibility to get the correct information into, these different systems about our company so that it can then, show up correctly in lots of different questions and in lots of different customizations. An
Mm,
interesting thing a customer said to me was ChatGPT is now our most popular and least well-trained representative,
mm,
where all day, every day, people are asking questions about the company. Can it do this? Does it have features for this? Will it integrate with this other system? And it's not always correct. And,
mm,
as marketers, it's our responsibility to fix those kind of hallucinations and issues.
mm. Makes sense. And with this, I also have a particular question, like, especially when AI gets the brand wrong.
Mhm.
Uh, so, you know, um, what are some of the most surprising or painful things that you have seen, Michael, like AI tools say about real brands? And what does that do, like, in terms of trust or lead gen, when a buyer's first impression of the brand comes from an AI answer?
So, I have a background in enterprise B2B. I used to be in cybersecurity and, I had to get things. And a lot of SaaS buying at the B2B enterprise level is around like, is it qualified? Is it certified in the right way? Europeans have GDPR, American healthcare has HIPAA, um, SOC 2 compliance is really big. And it is not a priority for most marketers that we make sure that it says on our website, yes, we are SOC 2 compliant and yes, we are HIPAA compliant. That's usually like a down the funnel sales thing. Maybe it's mentioned in some other way, but that's one of those top level security things. If you're a hospital looking to make a buying decision, is the software HIPAA compliant? And if ChatGPT says no, and you actually are, you're immediately cut out of the running and you don't even know. Um,
That is, oh my goodness, yeah. That is so you know, I think like if AI is pulling from the open web and in say um it is full of outdated, maybe there is no updates done on the website or in the product pages, or maybe no new case studies, no, I mean, zero PR, kind of an unclear positioning. I think uh, then the model cannot, directly like create a story about, the brand out of thin air. Obviously, it will take from the sources, right?
well, I think part of the concern is that it will actually create something out of thin air if you don't give it, the right information. And that's really what there's really two kinds of hallucinations. The first is logic that, like, the LLM and the AI search model, it tries to do
Mhm.
some sort of logical like A is B is equal to C and then A is equal to C, and it messes that up. And that's not something we as marketers can deal with. But the second category is just there wasn't information there. And so it, fills in the gap between what information it does have. So if we start thinking about this differently as part of our content plans, as part of our website updates, we want to just plainly state a lot more of these things, a lot more FAQs, a lot more information that maybe at the enterprise level was inside like a PowerPoint that you give to, a customer that
Right.
maybe at least needs to have something on the website. And something else we found is that a lot of sites are accidentally blocking a lot of these AI indexing bots. And
Oh.
that's a big issue. So
Mm. Yeah, it is. Okay, let's talk about game plan. So let's say, you know, if marketers, they feel like, or they're listening, okay, cool, this is terrifying. What do I actually do? What's my game plan? So
sure.
if you had to give a simple, let's say a three-step playbook for, let's say, a B2B brand that wants to stop bleeding visibility in AI search, what are those steps?
I think step one, make
Mhm.
sure that you can be indexed by bots and not to be too self-promotional, but we do have a tool that at least simulates the requests from all these different systems. It's free and also it doesn't even require registration. It's called the AI Search Console. It's on
Okay.
our KnowaToa website. Very easy to use and quick, and it will just tell you if like you have a security plugin or Cloudflare, blocking being indexed. That's step one. Step two, I would say, really start to think about your content. With AI search, we're seeing a devaluation of top of funnel content. So, um, sort of the content strategy for the last decade was, doing a lot more educational content around what you actually sold. So if you have an email service, you write a lot of content around like what's a subject line, what's a and a lot of things that you can imagine almost like if it could have been a Wikipedia article, you probably don't need to put it on your site because an AI is going to serve that. And so in your content strategy, you want to do a lot more writing around middle funnel and bottom of funnel content
Mhm.
that explains all your features, your certifications, common issues, and why people wouldn't buy. And then lastly, I think you want to really think about distribution as having a lot more value. Here's an example. Um,
Mhm.
OpenAI has a multi-billion-dollar relationship with Microsoft, OpenAI, makers of
Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Yep.
Part of that relationship is explicitly that they get access to LinkedIn, which is also owned by Microsoft. Part of that
Yep.
relationship is they also get access to GitHub and all the GitHub repos, which is also owned by Microsoft. And so
Mhm.
distributing your information to those systems is a great way to both, get organic social media growth, but also has this great benefit of benefiting your AI visibility in a way that wasn't there previously.
The is there any also possibility that it can be reverse engineered? Like we can uh maybe I'm not going to use the word manipulate here. Like smart reactions, like stronger brand or more and more use of these AI platforms for better informational content. Can this be also? I mean, is there any possibility of getting this misused in a way?
Well, I think the biggest, in SEO, traditional SEO, we always talk about ranking factors. And we say like, oh,
Right.
well, this domain gives more weight, which means your rankings improve. Having the right title, having the right content length, all these different ranking factors. The biggest
Mhm.
ranking factor we see in AI search is really repetition, which is that if there's a message you want to get out there, that you have it repeated in as many different places in as many different, faceted ways as possible. Which again is why, you want it on your site and then you want a really good distribution strategy to amplify that message across, lots and lots of different places.
Mhm, mm. Makes sense, makes sense. Another, before we wrap up, do you think, Michael, that this is more about, whether SEO is dead or it's about to explode? Like, a lot of SEOs are like doom posting, but then you are actually very, very optimistic about SEO as a career. So the main question here is like in a world where, you know, let's assume AI answers are sitting on the top of the results. Why do you think SEO as a career is not dying, but actually uh, poised to explode, or maybe there is a huge pivot that is about to like going to happen?
Yeah,
I mean,
we started this conversation off talking about, sort of the relationship between Google and ChatGPT and all these upstarts. Um,
hmm
and I think who knows exactly how that's going to happen, but I think it is undeniable that we are seeing a fracturing of the search ecosystem where, certain systems are better for certain niches, where people are using lots of different things, where search is becoming more of a feature just inside of lots and lots of different applications. And that means there's a lot more to manage. That means there's a lot more to track. That means there's a lot more places where, you still need a human to add some strategy to this, to do some checks, to do some actions. And for those reasons, I think it's incredibly valuable. SEOs are incredibly valuable now, where it's not just like, oh, we can just let Google run at our site and that's it. Like, you really need
hmm
to think about this. And the brands and sites that are investing now um, are just going to pay off in the future because it is, again, clearly the way forward. So,
Hmm. I think this is powerful. This is powerful. Superb. And Michael, finally, let's also look at the next 5 years. Um, like what I realize is that you really have here a macro view. So in your opinion, how would you describe Google's response with Gemini so far? From a product marketing or maybe strategy lens.
um, I think what's happened with Google is going to be a case study in business schools for decades, which is that they really invented a lot of the early AI, foundations, the models and everything, and internally, you know, I think that was suppressed because it was a threat at some level to their core search, which which makes billions of dollars.
Yeah.
And so they were really caught off guard by ChatGPT's launch, where I think they looked at that could have been us, and their reaction has been, I think, to very adeptly start adding in more and more AI features and start working towards a future that's not, search results with 10 blue links on it. That is, something we're already seeing a decline in, but we're going to see more and more of that. More and more of like, here's the one result you're looking for. Here's the top couple results, and less of that traditional search structure. So I think what they're doing is phenomenal. And I think it's phenomenal both in terms of, sort of this abstract technical way, but also as people. Like you mentioned, like you're using ChatGPT for research or Gemini for research because it's
Mhm.
better for you. Because like who wants to sit and like, mess with a bunch of links and go through this weird, overly SEO optimized content? Like, just trying to get things done. And I think
Mhm.
AI is very helpful for that.
Hmm. So it is safe to say that SEO is not dead, but it's mutating. It's uh like a lot of reworking into strategy or maybe reputation management across ecosystems, and then also a lot of content engineering as well.
Absolutely. So,
hmm So, Michael, if listeners, especially the ones, not only just the CMOs or the marketers or the founders, but if anyone who is more interested into exploring this and also explore more about KnowaToa, if they would like to connect with you, what will be the easiest medium?
certainly you can go to knowatoa.com. That's KNOWATOA.com. And, you can email me, Mike at knowatoa.com if you want. I'm also on LinkedIn. But if you are at all interested in this, we do have, like I mentioned, the AI Search Console on our site, which is completely free. And we also have like, you can put in your site and just run a basic search audit, which will tell you sort of
Mhm.
where you stand in AI search against a couple competitors and for a couple questions, and that's free as well. So,
That is interesting. Yeah. So listeners, I'm going to definitely have all these links mentioned in the show notes. So yeah, just refer to them along with this episode on your favorite podcast platform. And I think well, I mean, in 30 minutes, we have covered a lot. I mean, AI search, well, it's not this hypothetical sci fi movie type future. I think it is already shaping how you are researching or shortlisting brands. And I think it's also safe to say that brands that ignore AI answers, they are basically ignoring an entire stage of their customer journey. And founders, I think they can also absolutely ride this wave if they stop trying to game systems and start solving real problems inside this new reality. So, Michael, thank you so much for being honest. And I think something which I really found it very interesting is how your company started. It evolved from a simple script and then turned into a real business that I think it's helping Search Pros track where they stand out.
well, thank you so much for having me on. This was delightful. I really appreciate all the great questions. So.
Superb, superb. So, to everyone listening, okay, let's take a homework here. Very simple, but maybe uncomfortable. Um, okay, just go and ask your favorite AI tool. What is your company name, and who are the top tools for, let's say, the industry or maybe your category or your vertical in which your company is. Read the answer slowly. If you do not like where you show up, or maybe you do not show up at all, that is not a reason to panic, but it is your roadmap. It is your nudge. It is your indicator to begin. So, from there, decide what you will change in your messaging, your content, your PR, or maybe your product marketing. And if you are a search pro, maybe your next big career growth move lives right there. So, thank you so much to all the listeners for hanging out with us here on BizBlend. If this episode gave you a few oh no moments and a few okay, I know how to do or what to do, then definitely subscribe to us, hit us a like, and give us a review because that keeps the wheels running here on BizBlend. And until next time, this is your host Sana signing off. Thank you.